Welcome back, everybody, to our morning education session. I hope you all managed to get a cup of coffee. I am learning a tremendous amount from all of this, and I hope that you are too. I have a question, actually, for our next speaker, which is one of the things that I have done a lot is fly around in United Nations helicopters on humanitarian missions in Haiti, in Darfur, in the Democratic Republic of Congo. And I just would like to know, because Mark is a bit of a specialist on all this kind of thing, whether it would be possible to have in-flight Wi-Fi on those helicopters. Probably not, but it would be fun to know. Anyway, without further ado, I'd like to introduce our next speaker, who is Dr. Mark Hillier. Mark is the CEO of Recaro. Recaro is a company that, as you all know, amongst other things, manufactures seats for airliners. Dr. Hillier started at Recaro in 2003, and he's worked his way up through the ranks via customer affairs and sales and operations, and he actually became the CEO in 2012. So let's welcome Mark. He's going to talk to us about design and comfort. Mark. And here's Mark now, who is going to inform and I hope entertain us too. Mark.
Laura, thank you very much. Thank you very much for the introduction. Dear ladies and gentlemen, I would like to welcome you to my presentation about comfort. I would also like to say thank you to Apex and IFSA for the invitation. And when I received the invitation for the presentation, first of all, I felt a great honor to do this here. After a second thought, I also thought about the challenge. Why challenge? Because talking about comfort and aircraft seats, most of the people, especially if they are talking about economy class seats, long-range flights, they think comfort and economy class seats does not really go together. And sometimes I'm asked about my profession. When I'm talking about it and say that I'm working for a company delivering aircraft seats, then I have also the same discussion that aircraft seats and comfort, maybe these are two different worlds. What I'm normally asking the people is how long did they sit on their sofa at home on one day, even up to 10 or 11 hours, and how did it feel? So, which means comfort is really something which is not objective, it's really about the perception, and it's really very much about the personal experience. Before I start my presentation, I would like to give you a little bit of an overview about the Recaro aircraft seating and the Recaro group, just a short one. Recaro aircraft seating, we are focusing on economy and business class seats for Airbus and Boeing aircrafts. We have around about 1,700 employees located at 5 different sites, 2 in Europe, 1 in Dallas, 1 in Cape Town, and another one, the newest one, in China. We are belonging to the Recaro group, and the Recaro group is focusing on seating. And the history of the Recaro group goes back to 1906, when the company produced the first car bodies for major car manufacturers like Porsche or Volkswagen. In the 60s, the car body production was sold to Porsche, and the focus was on seating, interior and seating. And therefore, the company was renamed with the family name Reuter and the German name for car body to Recaro, which means since the 60s, we have got the brand name Recaro, and in our opinion, it's the only brand name for aircraft seats and automotive seats which are really known to end users or passengers. My presentation is about comfort. Then I would also like to talk about the limitations, because in our business we have several limitations. One for sure is about space. The other one is about safety, and this part is dedicated to Laura's fear about flying on the aircraft. Then I will talk about the realization, how to realize comfort. And finally, I would like to give you a little bit of an outlook into other industries. In general, I would like to convince you that even if some people maybe experience a disconnect between comfort and economy class seating, that the industry has taken tremendous efforts in the last years to improve the comfort, and there is still way to go, but in the future you will see much more innovations which will really increase the comfort, especially also on economy class flights. Comfort, there are several aspects maybe you have in mind. Comfort is about seating, it's about IFE, it's about bed length, seat width, aisle access. There are so many things you think about, you experience about, and normally you think especially about if it's not working or if it's not good for you. And therefore, comfort and discomfort is somehow connected. There's a very well-known model from Helander and Zhang, and this shows more or less that discomfort is a physical aspect. Discomfort can be measured, and comfort is more or less the psychological aspect. And therefore, what needs to be done is really to make sure that discomfort is not there, and then we can work on comfort. The bad thing about it is that discomfort has a dominant effect, which means if discomfort is there, maybe you will not really experience comfort. They are present at the same time, but discomfort really will be the most experienced one. For us, it means that we need to avoid discomfort, create comfort, and we need to take care about the product, the aesthetical design, the experience, and the expectation. So therefore, by designing seats and taking care about the comfort, we have a clear hierarchy. First of all, it's about the ergonomics. We need to make sure that we have got the physical inviolability, then to avoid any pain, any fatigue, to avoid the discomfort, and then we need to work on the comfort, on the well-being, on the relaxation. In our industry and also in our company, in the meantime, we are talking about visual comfort. Normally, visual aspects, aesthetics is already included in comfort, but this makes it more and more clearer that comfort is about really psychological aspects we need to take care about. But let's talk about some of the constraints or limitations we need to cope with. One for sure is about the space. And if you think about an aircraft, about the space which is provided by an aircraft, I think it's easy to calculate that 1 square meter of an aircraft floor, the costs are around 500,000 US. So which means it's a very expensive space, and we need to make sure that we use the space as good as possible. Investing the 500,000 US I mentioned about, the floor space is still on the ground. It's not flown at the moment, then it's not flown, which means there is further investment needed really to operate the aircraft and to utilize the space. If you think about the space, the passengers normally they want to do the same on the aircraft or even more what they are doing at home. They want to relax, they want to sleep, they want to dine, they want to read a book, they want to have IFE, television, and so on. If you're taking an apartment as an example, maybe you have 40 square meters per person. If you compare this to a business class seat, you have just 1 square meter, maybe 1.5 square meter, where you try to get or give the same to the passenger to do all the things he's doing at home. This is also illustrated in the presentation here. And for economy class, it's just 0.4 square meter, which are available to provide the best possible comfort for the passenger. And this is just about the floor space, more or less. Let's also think about the third dimension. And I can tell you now already it's not getting better in terms of limitation if you're thinking about the third dimension. Just take an aircraft fuselage into consideration. There we have, first of all, the underfloor. We cannot use the underfloor for IFE boxes or other things. We need to put it into the seat. Then we have got the not to exceed lines to the side walls. We have the overhead bins, for sure. They are getting bigger and bigger, which is good for the passengers, for the luggage. Then we have got the aisle width. And the aisle width is not just related to safety requirements, it's also related to the business model of an airline, which means if it's a low-cost carrier on short-range flights, they would care about rapid boarding and deboarding, not that much about the seat width, and they would go for a wider aisle. A premium carrier would do it the other way around. Then we have got another requirement is the maximum height of the seat and the direct view for the cabin crew, which limits more or less the size of the seat. And finally, we have got the under-seat stowage. And what you see here, these are all the limitations, and we need to design a seat which is compliant to all these limitations and requirements. And if you are talking to designers from other industries, and they are coming to aviation or interior design, sometimes they talk about that designing a seat for an aircraft is like painting by numbers, which means you can just connect different points, but there is not such a high degree of freedom. But for sure, the challenges are in the details and to get the most out of it. Let's talk about safety. Another restraint or constraint. And safety is very paradox in our industry. Nobody's talking about safety. Nobody's doing marketing on safety. Even if it's the most safest way to travel on an aircraft. And the industry is investing several billions on safety, but it's not really talking about. Even we, as a seat supplier, we're investing 1/3 or more than 1/3 of our R&D budget for safety, but we are not talking about. We are doing a lot of tests. We are doing a lot of documentation. We make sure that air traveling is really the most safest way, but this is not market. And to get some impression, not to scare you, I would like to show you 2 movies about tests, what we are doing with the seats, just to make sure in the event of a critical situation that the passenger can survive and the injuries are reduced to a minimum. You will see here on this side, it's a very well-known test in the seating and the IFE business. It's a 16G test. In this test, we need to show that with a 16G impact on the seat, the head injury criteria is below a certain value. Furthermore, we need also to show that there are no sharp edges. And I would like to show you, first of all, this movie here with the 16G test now. I hope it's working. Now you see the reaction of the seat and the dummy after the 16G impact. And you will see how the dummy hits the monitor and the table of the seat back and slides down. And all the measures are taken into consideration, and it's defined if this test is a fail or a pass. That's a very important test, and I think it's also very important to talk about, especially about the integration of IFE into a seat, because here we have a couple of challenges. One challenge, the life cycle of IFE is shorter than for seating, which means if we are developing a new seat, we have to certify several IFE systems on our seats, almost in every customer program, and this is part of a huge investment. Another one for sure is about the responsibility, and I assume that the seat suppliers and IFE suppliers among us, they know it. If there is a fail test, who needs to modify? Is it the display supplier? Is it the seat supplier? Both need to modify the seat to be compliant with the safety requirement. The next test I would like to show you, this is a so-called windmilling test. There we need to show that the seat stays intact even if there are vibrations coming from the engine introduced into the aircraft, we need to show that the seat stays intact for a couple of hours so that the pilot is able to land the aircraft safely. And you will see how it looks like in this movie. This test goes on for a couple of hours just to show that there is no damage to the seat and that there is also no injury to the passenger. So you see there are several tests, several investments necessary really to be compliant with the safety requirements, and these are in addition to comfort. This has nothing to do with comfort. We need to be compliant, and then we can take care about the comfort. I do not want to concentrate on other limitations like cost pressure or like weight. These are additional limitations we have in our industry. Now let's talk about the realization, how to realize comfort, what needs to be done for aircraft seats. For the realization, the most important, first of all, for sure, is to find a solution that provides all customer benefits while trying to use space most efficient. For sure, here it's about the efficiency, getting as many passengers on board as possible, and to understand who is willing to pay for what level of comfort. That's really important, especially for the airlines, to define how many classes, the size of the classes, about auxiliary revenues, what is needed, what is necessary, and what you see right now in the market for seating, that additional classes are coming up, like premium economy, first class is disappearing, at least at some of the carriers. So there is a lot of change, a lot of changes are ongoing to find the best way and to support the passengers. First of all, taking care about the space. The best seat in the market is the seat which doesn't need any space, which just supports the passenger but doesn't need any space and occupies any space. Therefore, we have introduced the slimline seat, which means we have really reduced the backrest to a minimum to give as much as space back to the passenger. And by optimizing our structure and also by implementing a patented solution, we were able to increase the living space by almost 2 inches, which means the airline can increase the comfort by maintaining the same number of seats. The patented solution I've talked about, it's the so-called high literature pocket. We have moved the literature pocket, which is normally in the critical shin or knee area, up to the upper part of the backrest, where more space is available, and therefore we got additional space. And it's incredible that in the last 20 years, the literature was always in the most critical area, really in the knee and shin area. But now with the patent solution, we are able to really reduce the backrest to a minimum and to give the best possible comfort back to the passenger. For sure, airlines are also struggling with the economies, so therefore, some of the airlines are not just maintaining the number of packs and increasing the comfort. Some of the airlines, they decide to maintain the comfort and increase the number of packs, which means with such an innovation, the number of packs can be increased by up to 10%, depending on the aircraft layout. And that's a tremendous benefit for the airline in terms of the economies. Besides the space, comfort is all about the body and supporting the body. So therefore, when we are designing a new seat, we are not starting with a seat or a seat structure. We are really starting with the human body and try to set up a structure which supports the optimal body angles, which are around about 130 or 135 degrees, the opening angle. And what you see here in the picture is that we have very optimal angles on both sides. Therefore, we have tilted the passenger a little bit around. And the next step is then to support the passenger as good as possible, because we need to avoid any momentum we are creating. What I mean with momentum, you can see this on the head. and the headrest, because here it's not a headrest, it's a neck support. If we would add here a headrest in such a sleeping position, we would create a momentum on the head of the passenger, and this would create some tension. Therefore, we decided to develop some neck support which will avoid any momentum. The same is with the contour of the backrest, the same with the kinematic and the flexible front edge, in addition with the foot net. So that's the important thing about comfort, to take care about the angles, the body angles, and also take care about the momentum, that no tension is created by the seat. But it's not just about the seat itself, the structure and the space, it's also about all the details. An aircraft seat consists out of more than 200 parts, and it's important to take care about all the parts so that the aesthetics, the haptics, and the appearance of the parts are really perfect, because this is also creating comfort for the passenger. Also the integration of the in-flight entertainment. And if you think on aircraft, there are just a couple of different seats, then I will give you an example how many different seats are on an aircraft, just in economy class. Think about an A380, up to 400 seats, economy class, or PAX, passenger seats. We have 100 seats, which means triple, quadruple, double seats. And out of the 100, 50 are different, because you have the left side, the right side, the front, the right. And in such a development program, we need to take care about not just one seat, about all the different seat types, and make sure that also the seat in the exit, in the front row with all the special requirements, is as comfortable as the other seats. What we have done for our newest development, our CL3710, we have defined for us the target to develop the most comfortable and lightest seat for economy long-range flights. And therefore we have taken a different approach. We have started with a development team more than 2 years ago, and started with customer focus groups, quality function deployment workshops, and defined all the relevant features of a seat, the design, the appearance the airlines want to have, and also the passengers for sure want to have. And then we have developed the seat. We have secured the development process over time with a couple of review workshops, and this year in April we have presented the seat to the public. In our opinion, it will be the benchmark in terms of comfort for a long-range seat, and it's the benchmark in terms of lightweight. The weight is below 12 kilogram per pax for such a seat. And there we can show with several innovations that even in an economy class cabin, innovations are possible and comfort can be further increased. You see here the high literature pocket, you see the integration of the IFE system above the high literature pocket, and you see other features like we have removed the table latch, and we have a one-hand operation latch for the table. We have also an armrest which can be made full flush. This is important, for example, for passengers who want to have 2 seats and want to just move the armrest out of the way. We have done a lot of work of integration of IFE, of power, PC power, USB power. We have considered all the available systems to make sure that we can support our customers and the passengers with the newest technology. For a business class, there we have got a vision, and it's like feel at home. We want to create the hotel room in the sky, and for sure there we have a little bit more space than economy class. Here we have taken the same approach. We have talked to several airlines, have done customer reviews, and have created and defined the most important criteria for a business class seat. I think it's not surprising that it's about the sleeping position, it's about stowages, it's about entertainment, for sure it's about connectivity, but it's also about direct aisle access. And in our opinion, in the future, it won't be an option to have a seat where you do not have direct aisle access in the future, which means if you do not have direct aisle access, you need to step over the passenger who is next to you. And this is something we try to avoid and have avoided with our business class concept we have shown. In addition to that, we have also separated the bed position from the seating position. We have shown this to the public, the concept, and the normal reaction we got back from the airlines and the passengers was that they thought it's a first class seat because it separated the sleeping position from the bed position, which is normally just known from first class. But this seat and the concept doesn't need more space than the existing business class seats. This should just give you some impression what can be done to further improve the comfort and the perception for the customers. Furthermore, we have taken care about the aesthetics. In the past, the aircraft seats looked very technical. In the future, the seats will look more and more like home furnitures. Maybe furnitures like you know from a hotel. Maybe there are also some different design languages between apartment furnitures or furnitures in hotels and then aircraft seats or aircraft interior. Before I come to the conclusion, I would also like to give you some insights to other industries, because I'm sure that other industries can learn from us, and also we can learn from other industries. The next picture I would like to show you, I'm sure if an aircraft cabin in the future would look like this, we would have really a revolution. We would have a lot of passengers who were complaining or would complain about the cabin. But in railway transport, it's not an issue because the perception is different. And I think that's the difference of comfort. It's about the psychological aspects. This doesn't look nice. I think there's a lot of room for improvement, but the passengers so far, they accept it. Another example, automotive industry, very sophisticated industry. What you can see here, there are a couple of aspects which, in my opinion, are very interesting. Most of the cars, they do not have rear seats. They have benches. No adjustments, nothing. And the second thing is, just think about the backrest. It's not a slim backrest. For sure, we have different requirements like accelerations, side accelerations, and so on. But I'm sure if we would reduce the backrest and make a slim backrest in the car, we could really generate additional comfort for passengers, or we could achieve some totally different thing. What is in the moment very important in automotive, it's about lightweight design and construction. If you could reduce or change the backrest to a slim backrest, we could also have the same leg space by shorter cars and therefore reduce the weight and also the cost of the cars. So there, in my opinion, are really learnings for the automotive industry from the aviation industry, because we are taking care about every millimeter of a backrest. And the third thing I would like to mention is about the front passenger seat. This doesn't make any sense in my opinion. We have got the driver's seat and we have the front passenger seat. The seats are the same. They are just mirrored. But the requirements are totally different. For driver, it's a working place. He needs to be adjusted and needs to be fixed more or less so that he's in a safe position. The front passenger, there it's more about relaxing, enjoying, maybe watching something, and the seat is the same. So therefore, I think there's also a lot of room for improvement left for further increasing the comfort. But nevertheless, in the automotive industry, there are also very good examples. You can see it by the next pictures here from BMW or Mercedes, the high-end class cars where you have already a seat with a sleeping position, relaxed position. You have all the connectivity equipment. You have got all the displays. You have got all the amenities you also know from a business class. We have also helped an automotive company in the past to take over the lessons learned from business class and the experience to create such a back seat, a relaxed chair. And finally, talking about other industries, I would like to come back to safety. If you're talking about safety, as mentioned, in our industry, it's a non-topic. In other industry, it's the key selling point. Just think about child seats, child restraint system. At least in Europe, every seat is rated with 2-star, 3-star, 4-star, 5-star, and normally the decision driver for a child restraint system is safety. And also the companies, they are really using it for marketing and try to generate more turnover by using the safety and also give the buyers a better feeling about buying really using a very safe product. Now I would like to come to the conclusion of my presentation and talking about comfort, about the psychological aspects. And we as Recaro, for us, our brand identity is about fascinating our customers with trailblazing solutions for better seating. And there are two major elements. One is ingenious design, which is necessary. It's the combination of aesthetics, functionality, and ergonomics. And it's also feel better in all aspects, which is about all the psychological aspects and the perception, also the brand. And the basis for sure is about quality and safety, which is a must-have for our products. Thank you very much.
Just stay, we'll get some questions, yeah. Mark, thank you so much for that presentation about comfort and safety, and I'm feeling much more secure now, and you confirmed, as my husband would say, it is all in the mind, Laura, and you just proved that. So we have time for questions. If you have a question for Mark, please raise your hand, and we'll make sure to get a microphone. Gentleman here. Very swift off the mark there. And if you could please say who you are, sir, that would be great, and who you're representing. Thanks.
Hi, thank you. I'm
Mark.
Rich Salter from Lumexis, and I was wondering, first of all, I wanted to thank you for that presentation. It was really comprehensive and good. I'm wondering, though, with all the talk about the PEDs, personal electronic devices, and the need to still stow tablets, especially tablets during takeoff and landing, is anything being worked for special accommodations for tablets, like maybe upgrading the literature pocket or something like that to store them on takeoff and landing?
Mm-hmm. Okay. There we have, regarding tablets and regarding IFE integration, our idea or our direction we are following. We see for long-range economy class seats, and we see also for business class seats that in the future it will be about integration. Maybe there is a trend to a second screen. You want to connect your iPad to the system. Therefore, you need to have some additional storage. For short-range economy class seats or mid-range, we see in the long run there won't be any IFE integration in our idea. It's really about storages for personal devices, it's about connectivity, and it's about power. And therefore, for sure, there are also solutions already available in the market for storing such devices. And devices or storages for seats is one of the most important things. It's not just for PEDs, it's also for classes, other things. This is normally something you are missing when you're on aircraft, to have all the storages.
That's great, and we have time for another question if anyone has one. Sir, at the front here, we can have them. I was particularly interested to hear that you're going to make economy a bit more comfortable. As someone who regularly packs her family and takes them to England every Christmas, it would be nice if it was slightly more comfortable. Sir, if you could say who you are, please. Thanks.
Hello, I hope you can hear me. Yeah. I'm Manzoor Bahman. I'm with Emirates Engineering Projects. We have your seats on our planes, as you know. My question to you is that the concept you showed for the business class, how the furniture like that is, and also the growing need for having additional power needs. So are you working on any wireless charging of any devices, any integration in any of your products? If yes, would you like to share some of those thoughts? Because everybody wants to have 2 or 3 places to charge USBs, PC, and all that. Just to get a thoughts.
Question. Wireless charging, I never heard of that before.
Yeah. That's right. There are first ideas and technologies available for wireless charging, and for sure this is something what will come up in the future. The question is, how long will it take? You know all the requirements about certification. This takes quite a long time until we have the innovation on board, more or less. But for sure, with all the different cables, all the different connectors, this cannot be the future. So therefore, this is something where we are definitely working on.
Mark Hiller from Recaro, thank you so much for the presentation and for answering those questions.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mark. Nice